Imperialist spirits may try to divert you from the goal, but listen, aim far. Aim very far. Think and see what we want to do. So thank you to all these young people who are moving across Africa to come and support their brothers and their comrades in Burkina Faso. We say thank you. We wish you a very good stay in Burkina Faso, and we wish that you can return in peace and also send the message to the place of all African youth. Because the fight we are leading is not only for Burkina Faso, but it is a fight for all of Africa. It is time to wake up, and that we are no longer led to cross the ocean, to die, to go and look for El Dorado in 2021. We can create it here. Put your work, and I think it is possible.
This is the journey to one Africa.
Je voudrais donc commencer mon propos en remerciant Dieu Tout-Puissant qui nous a permis donc de nous retrouver ici en bonne santé ce matin.
I would like to start my speech by thanking God Almighty, who allowed us to be here in good health this morning to celebrate the International Day of Youth, youth of which I am of course part, even if there are some people who are courageous by age, but they are young in the head. Thank you all. We celebrate this day in a somewhat particular context, as the predecessors have signified, this context of conflict. This conflict that we call nothing more than the violent, barbaric manifestation of imperialism, of neo-colonialism, of the enslavement that we are being imposed on us today. This is what we have called terrorism. But as they have said, we have called upon the youth at a given time to fight this fear, and the youth responded massively. Today, several young people are enrolled as VDP and others are waiting. We can see them through the arteries of our cities. This touches our hearts, and we dare to believe that the youth have understood why we must fight. If our ancestors fought to give us land that we call today Burkina Faso, this means that we must also fight to give something to our children. If God has made our generation confront this fight today, it is because He knows that we have the capacity to do so. 208. I know how to count on everyone to make it happen. The fight is not only military on the ground, but the fight is much deeper. In this sense, we must also fight to change the mentality. Our generation may have grown up in a system that shaped us, which is very difficult to change, perhaps, but not impossible. Perhaps among us, some still find themselves with characters that we do not know how to deal with. But I like to say, to quote an author, there is no meaner man who cannot change his heart if we teach him how to have wisdom. I think that each of us can change. In this sense, it goes without saying that we can forgive ourselves when someone is not on the path we hope for, but at the same time, we teach him the right ways so that we can change. Because the fatal weapon of imperialism today is manipulation, and youth is the target. Our country, or I would say Africa, is mostly young, and youth is the target of this manipulation. And when we discover it, we must fight it. And most of the time, imperialism is not necessarily those who come from elsewhere, but they are among us. 337. And it is among us that manipulation is born. I invite youth to leave it, to always seek the right information, and to always think of our countries, of our different countries, everywhere in Africa. I repeat, if our forefathers left us a land that we found, we must leave a better land for our children. In this sense, today we are gathered to talk about the problems of youth. We are going to make certain promises, to see perspectives, but also to challenge ourselves. I think that the parents and the nanny challenged you, and the minister wanted to give each of you 300 francs. But I think the challenge goes beyond that, because youth must also understand something. We, at the level of the executive, we take measures. But we also need to talk to you, to raise awareness, so that together we can raise the challenges that are today posed to us. Why do I say this? Because when they tell their stories, we realize that they fought together to get there. Today, as the minister said, instructions have been given. so that we can create a single fund that can support youth in entrepreneurship. We will not ask you to start from scratch, but there will be a minimum to accompany you and help you.
Nous allons nous faire des promesses, certes, voir des perspectives, mais aussi se lancer des défis. Je pense que le parrain et la marraine...
At the same time, there is very little time. We have done everything to expand everything that is taxation at the level of young companies that will have to be created. This is to accompany you, so that you do not find yourself confronted in the first few years with certain difficulties. In addition to all this, I think, as he announced, we think a lot about professional training. This is one of the major reforms of this department. I think that when I went to university, I was well informed. It is not about working today, having a diploma and looking to be employed. 549. It is also about learning jobs and being able to exercise them. Chapitre. So we are looking today to reorient a good part of the youth towards professional employment. This means that we will have to build a lot of professional training centers and be able to teach a lot of jobs to young people, because here we have a lot of resources. There are enough reforms in favor of youth that are underway. Throughout the world, we have been able to understand that we can get there, because we have enough resources to bring value to the outside world. For example, we are currently focused on agriculture, which is very important to us. Because, as I said earlier, food self-sufficiency is a fight. It is a fight because when we talk about dignity, we talk about honor. If you are not self-sufficient, you have no dignity. When a father has to go home at night and has no seed to put in his son's plate, he cannot talk about dignity. The whole family will live in indignity, because the woman will have to fight as hard as she can in all the ways. You can imagine to find food. There is no dignity once you have eaten your fill. There is no dignity when we reach out. Do you see this new form of neo-colonialism that we are talking about, which is trying to bring our youth back to demands, to chronic austerity? We are fighting against this. When you say to a partner, who is ready to serve you with mobile money, up to 100 billion, but when you say to this same partner, no, serve with mobile money up to 20 billion and 80 billion. We will do structural projects, agricultural production for the youth, they do not agree. It must challenge us. The goal is to keep you in this permanent system. It is to prevent you from being able to produce yourself and get by. And every time, we will give you a little and we will tell you to stay there. Do not be afraid to undertake. Do not be afraid to undertake. You have to start. 806. It is hard, often very hard. You will stumble. You will often find yourself on your knees. As some would say, take advantage, make a prayer, press on the palm, get up, and always walk. Never stop. And even those who have a job somewhere, do not just stick to your job. Try to invest. Try to develop something else in parallel. Because since, as I told you, our generation is in a fairly complex system, we may have been taught that you just need to have a job, an office, and we sit down, and that's it. The salary falls at the end of the month. It can't make you happy. It can't. Your salary must be used to develop something else. We are military. I have also been an entrepreneur for a few years as a young man, because we are only allowed to do agriculture, farming. I think the speakers who put that in the texts, they understood very well. 9-10, and we participate in that. We have tried. We have seen that it is hard. 9-15. But most of the time, when we persevere, we can end up rubbing our hands. 9-20. So I encourage you not to be discouraged. For those who are looking to start a business, never be discouraged. You have to start again. The path is always full of obstacles, but you must not stop, because you will end up here. We are extremely rich here in Burkina. We think so. Today, we decided to reorganize our society a little. Certainly, some texts or some conventions that had been signed were very constraining. It made our country have a hard time getting out of it. Today, thanks to you, we are rereading a lot of texts to try to give our nations what they deserve. It is in this sense that when we take, for example, the theft of gold, your theme is about the employability of rural young people. Many of our young people today are on the production site, in the most painful conditions. This is perhaps what happened in Europe, Or in America in the 1800s, when men went into galleries that they dug themselves to get the ore out.
Parce que nous ne sommes autorisés qu'à faire que l'agriculture, l'élevage. Je pense que les dévanciers qui ont mis ça dans...
Our young people continue to experience this at the risk of their lives. We are trying today to modernize a little. It is at the end of this that we created the SNOA-F, a society that will allow us to be able to exploit and commercialize our precious substances, especially gold. The gold that young people exploit, that other people come to buy at a low price, and that contributes to feed terrorism that comes out of the country. Without our having any control, we decided to create this society to try to regain control of our mining sites and to allow the young people who are there to produce in a more mechanized and respectful way. We also want each region to be able to produce a specialty. This could certainly be in the domain of agriculture, because we have immense potential. We have natural water reserves, lakes a little everywhere across the country, rivers that flow and dams here and there, but which are not exploited. We are trying to launch in each region. And that is why here I am announcing that there will be a representative of each region at the level of the presidency as head of mission. This process is underway. These people will therefore have to take the concerns of the youth, and especially of the women who fight day and night, so that we can act in a progressive way where we have to act. Because this fight that we have today against terrorism is not only done by weapons, but also by development. As long as the youth have no jobs, they will always be tempted to go where it is easy to have money. And that's also what we have to fight. We have already identified many poles, and that we will very soon, at the end of the fortified season, through the presidential initiative, but also through the Ministry of Agriculture, which has a very good database, and that we have given a special mission so that we can achieve food self-sufficiency. Within each region, we will value these water points and these reserves that we have, and we will support as much as possible the young people. So, it's inviting everyone to get to work and to be able to give another face to our country. There are many other projects in progress, and we will not be able to detail everything here. I think that as and when the ministry will get to work, through the National Council of Young People, and through this complex that you are going to build, I suppose that it will be the major incubator that will be able to impact all the initiatives in favor of young people in the different regions. I would like to tell you, and I insist on it, not to be afraid of taking risks. Entrepreneurship is about risk. We have expanded everything that is taxation. It is a message to young people. Initiate something. Do not be afraid to take risks. No risk, no pleasure. Take risks. We will support you as much as we can. And for those who are currently fighting, we are trying to do as much as possible to give everything they need. This is the place for me to pay homage to all these young people who have committed themselves as VDP, who are today on the ground, in the rain, in the fog, in the mud, wherever they are asked to go. They are fighting on the ground to try to reclaim our land and give to this country what we call territorial integrity. And everyone at his level must therefore be able, without taking Kalashnikov, to take something else to participate in the development of this country. And that, we only count on you, young people. I told the parents and the Navy that I was going to lend a hand to these great economic operators of the country, and I think some are there. So get ready, we will lend you a hand to create initiatives for young people. We have therefore launched the APEC, in this sense, to create what we call the companies that we want to put in place. Because we say it. It is inconceivable that we can produce tomatoes here and that we import tomato paste. It is absurd that we have all the oleogenic products here and that we cannot transform them. We have launched this and I invite you to subscribe massively, because we are going to create our companies here on site and develop them. Certainly, imperialist spirits may try to divert you from the goal, but listen, aim far. Aim very far. Think and see what we want to do. So thank you to all these young people who are moving across Africa to come and support their brothers and their comrades in Burkina Faso. We say thank you. We wish you a very good stay in Burkina Faso, and we wish that you can return in peace and also send the message to the place of all African youth. Because the fight we are leading is not only for Burkina Faso, but it is a fight for all of Africa. It is time to wake up and that we are no longer led to cross the ocean, to die, to go and look for El Dorado in 2021. We can create it here. Put your work, and I think it is possible. So thank you for coming to accompany us in this moment of sharing and reflection. On this, I would like to tell you to stay on guard because the fight that has begun will be long, hard, but it is not impossible because we believe that soon we will get there. Thank you very much. La patrie ou la mort. Thank you, comrades.
Je disais tout de suite donc aux parrains et à la marraine que j'allais forcer la main à ces grands opérateurs économiques du pays et je pense que certains sont là. Donc apprêtez-vous, on va vous forcer la main pour créer des initiatives donc pour les jeunes. Nous avons donc lancé l'APEC dans ce sens-là pour permettre de créer ce qu'on appelle nos entreprises que nous voulons mettre sur place. Parce que nous le disons, c'est inconcevable que nous puissions ici produire de la tomate et que nous importons de la pâte de tomate. C'est absurde que nous avons tous les produits oléagineux ici et que nous ne puissions pas les transformer. Nous avons lancé cela et je vous invite à souscrire massivement parce que nous allons créer nos entreprises ici sur place et développer. Certes, des esprits impérialistes pourront essayer de vous détourner de l'objectif, mais écoutez, visez loin, visez très loin, réfléchissez et voyez ce qu'on va faire. Merci donc à tous ces jeunes qui sont déplacés à travers l'Afrique pour venir soutenir leurs frères et leurs camarades du Burkina Faso. Nous vous disons merci, nous vous souhaitons de passer un très bon séjour au Burkina Faso et souhaitons que vous puissiez retourner en paix et aussi lancer le message à l'endroit de toute la jeunesse africaine. Parce que le combat que nous menons, ce n'est pas uniquement pour le Burkina Faso, mais c'est un combat pour toute l'Afrique. Il est temps qu'on se réveille et que nous ne soyons plus amenés à traverser l'océan, à mourir pour aller chercher l'Eldorado tant vanté. On peut le créer ici. Mettez-vous au travail et je pense que c'est possible. Donc merci d'être venu nous accompagner dans ces moments donc, de partage et de réflexion. Sur ce, je voudrais vous dire donc, restez en veille parce que le combat qui a commencé sera long, dur, mais ce n'est pas impossible parce que nous croyons que bientôt nous allons y arriver. Merci beaucoup à vous. La patrie ou la mort. Merci camarades.
This is the journey to one Africa.